So, Mighty Number 9 has reached its conclusion. The world has gotten its game. Everyone's had a chance to play it, or watch it, or at least read about it. And everyone's starting to wrap up their coverage right around now. So I thought it'd be good to take one last look at Comcept and the aftermath of Mighty Number 9 and Red Ash, and kind of see what the direction of the company and the franchise are likely to be. To really get a solid idea of just why so many people are so upset with Mighty Number 9, we really need to take a look at the history of the whole game itself. And I know we already covered this just before playing the game, but for dramatic purposes, we left some of the finer details out, and it's probably best we talk a bit more frankly about them now. I should say ahead of time that this is almost certainly not a complete history of the project. Obviously, there's a lot of details I just don't have access to, and since I don't speak Japanese nor can I read it, there's probably some public information I just can't even understand in the first place. Now, according to Keiji Inafune, development and pre-production for Mighty Number 9 began sometime in the spring of 2013, most likely late April, right as development of Soul Sacrifice and Guildo 2 Bugs vs. Tanks was ending. For 4 months, it was developed in secret by Comcept and Inti Creates, the team most famously behind the Mega Man 0 and ZX games, along with Mega Man 9, Mega Man 10, and a game called Mega Man Battle Chip Challenge, a name that'll probably sound familiar to you really soon. At the end of the summer, on August 31st at PAX Prime, Keiji Inafune revealed Mighty Number 9 to attendees and launched the infamous Kickstarter campaign with a goal of $900,000. Now that goal would be reached within 2 days. 2 days after that, after crossing $1.5 million, Comcept claimed they would be removing 2 of their mystery stretch goals in order to curb the odds of overreaching and allowing them to, quote, get the game out quickly. They never got rid of the goals, and the game did not come out quickly. Announcements of all sorts about stretch goals continue throughout the month, and on October 1st, the Kickstarter ends with the total between on-site and PayPal-based pledges totaling $4,046,579. What's interesting is that in an interview with Game Informer later that month, Keiji Inafune said that he was open to many potential publishers, even including his old employer Capcom. They would have to make an appropriate deal, but he was even willing to reskin the entire game to be a Mega Man game if need be. Now, this is the first big red flag, not because anyone would riot over Inafune and Capcom coming together again after 3 years to make a new Mega Man, but because tens of thousands of people had pledged $4 million to a not Mega Man game. This is probably the point where I should mention Hideki Kamiya, director of Platinum Games and one-time developer within Capcom alongside Keiji Inafune. On September 23, 2012, Kamiya was asked if he enjoyed Inafune's work, to which he replied, "He's a businessman, not a creator." Harsh words, but the fact that Inafune was actually entertaining the thought of throwing away entirely the promised concepts for Mighty Number 9, the ones that we just paid for, seems to suggest that Kamiya was not all that far off. To add to the mess, in a February 2014 interview with Polygon, Inafune went on to say that he'd like to make a larger overall meta-series for Mighty Number 9, possibly including comic books, manga, anime, TV shows, and movies, for a game that was less than a year into development and needed to get funding from the fans in the first place. On March 19th, the development trailer hit the Game Developers Conference, showing off the mighty numbers, and, well, if you've been watching our Let's Play or have seen anything the game had to offer since its release, you might notice that Beck and these enemy robots look nearly identical to how they would in the eventual game's release over 2 years later. It was in the summer of 2014 where things seemed like they were starting to spin out of control. In particular, we need to look at July 6th, primarily at Anime Expo in Los Angeles, where we got the simultaneous announcement of a new crowdfunding campaign for $200,000 for full English voice acting. And since the voice cast is 17 strong, that means everyone's walking away with 12 grand, right? Yeah, it's not a bad payday, assuming the money didn't go elsewhere. As well as a gameplay trailer showing Cryosphere and Battalion stages more or less as they appear in the final product, and the Aviator and Prison stages still in progress. And a Mighty Number 9 animated cartoon by Digital Frontier set to release in the summer of 2016. Now, the following month on August 20th, Inti Creates released a side-scrolling action platform shooter called Asia Striker Gunvolt, and along with it they had this little side fun game called Mighty Gunvolt, which combined the heroes of Asia Striker Gunvolt, Galgun, and Mighty Number 9. So if anyone ever tells you that Beck debuted in 2016, you tell them they're wrong. You get punched in the face. On October 30th, Comcept announced another extra crowdfunding campaign, this time an extra $198,000 to create CDN 1101 Rachel, better known to us as the Proto Man Zero Base.exe mashup, Ray. These extra steps are starting to form a pattern. As the winter pressed on, Comcept made monthly updates on general points of progress until the middle of the spring. On April 28th, after missing the target release date, Comcept simultaneously announces that the release date has been pushed back to September 15th, and that they have partnered up with Saints Row 4 publisher Deep Silver, a partnership that in hindsight makes me want to
cry like an anime fan on prom night.
And if a delay and a publisher being announced after already being late doesn't raise enough red flags, the 4th of July proved to be an exploding red flag factory, as Comcept, now in the midst of a delayed flagship title, released 2 simultaneous new Kickstarters for a project called Red Ash, visibly inspired by Mega Man Legends, the series Keiji Inafune was last working on when he quit Capcom. Now, I know that I've already said repeatedly that I thought this stunk to high heaven while it was actually happening last year, but I think this is an important time to reiterate. This was a $900,000 campaign that raised over $4 million. That's 4.5 times what they were originally trying to get in the first place. They had to go back to the well twice to get more money for more pieces to this puzzle, and they still couldn't release anything on time. And then not only that, they went back for more for an entirely new project while the first one was already late. So what could they possibly have been needing that money for? Now, producer Nick Yu came out and said that he was concerned about his employees who were basically jobless because the game was more or less done, which leads me to believe that over the course of that previous year, since the July that came before, they had basically been on and off bankrupt over the course of this project, and they needed the money to float the rest of it until they could release it, and then use the inevitable profits from Mighty No. 9 to actually fund the development of Red Ash. Now, the evidence is slim, but I can't think of any reason they would dump a bucket of oil onto an increasingly large wildfire of negative reaction to the first delay across the internet by asking for more money a third and fourth time simultaneously. Oh, and 3 days later, they announced a feature film being produced by Legendary Pictures. Okay, let's talk about Red Ash. Like I said, Red Ash was actually 2 thematically linked but ultimately separate campaigns, a video game named Red Ash the Indelible Legend to be developed by Comcept, and an anime from Studio 4C called Red Ash Magic... You know what? I've actually been calling this Magicada for the last year, but it's totally like Magicicada. There's another IC in there. Magicicada? Magicicada? Magic. Red Ash Magic, whatever. These Kickstarters were an absolute dumpster fire. Let's start with the anime. Here's an idea for a Kickstarter. Fund each episode separately and pray for the best. Look, I'm just going to scroll from the bottom of their stretch goal, starting at 2,480,000, and slowly move lower, and lower, and lower. Where do you think we'll stop? 6 episodes? 4 episodes? Oh no, this is much sadder. See, their Kickstarter managed to raise a paltry $170,000, less than 7% of their full stretch goal, giving just enough money to fund a single 5-minute episode, Day of the Locusts. They reached their goal with only 2 hours left on the clock. Oh, what's that? It says 12 minutes? Yeah, so that's actually because on July 22nd, probably as a result of suddenly realizing, oh god, this is not the cash cow we were expecting, they increased the runtime of each planned episode. And as of this April, Studio 4C actually applied for a grant in order to fund a larger project because odds are $170,000 probably isn't enough startup material for the project in the first place. On the plus side, at least we'll be getting a 20-plus minute episode out of it, something they initially wanted $750,000 for. Amazing. Enjoy the 1 episode when it arrives along with the game in 2017, pending guaranteed game release delays. Oh, and speaking of the game, let's talk about it. Red Ash the Indelible Legend. What a perfect choice of title. Indelible, an adjective I will freely admit I had to look up while writing this, means marked in a way that cannot be forgotten or removed. Now that is about as accurate a name as you could possibly apply to this crowdfunding campaign. Now, right off the bat, this campaign was asking for $850,000, a number mighty close to the $900,000 the predecessor was asking for. Mistake number 1 was starting a second Kickstarter campaign while the first one wasn't even over yet, and asking for basically the same dollar amount was mistake number 2. Progress came slow, and then all hell broke loose. On July 30th, 2015, 4 days before the end of the campaign, it was revealed that despite Comcept seeking funds from the fans, simultaneous to this crowdfunding campaign, a Chinese company called Fuse Entertainment had already funded the entire project. The fans were understandably pissed. So pissed, in fact, that the campaign began experiencing negative cash flow as people started killing off their pledges and backing off the project entirely. As you can see, I'm one of the idiots who still tried to give them money anyway, but the project ultimately failed to reach its goal, ending up at an oddly specific $519,999. Now, Red Ash the Indelible Legend is still happening. It's still coming out, allegedly in 2017, regardless of the failed Kickstarter campaign, so we'll keep you posted on that. Now, you remember my theory about them needing this money desperately in order to get Mighty No. 9 done, right? 2 days after the Red Ash Kickstarter campaign failed, they announced the second delay for Mighty No. 9, and not only that, the best they could give for an estimate for the release date now was first quarter of 2016. Unfucking believable. To make matters worse, Comcept's attempt to make good on broken promises were a complete mess. Due to the game being delayed again, they told their backers that they'd be able to download a playable demo of Mighty No. 9 on September 15th, the intended release date for the game the second time around. Yeah, they completely missed that demo release date too, and even once they did get it out 2 weeks later, there were a myriad of distribution errors that further fucked it up. You know what did come out on September 15th, though? 20XX. It's a great-looking fan game and rolling beta. They're great guys. They're at PAX East this year. Go check them out at the address below. Maybe we should play that when the game rolls out of beta. Who knows? Keep it up, guys. Anyway, that same week, Comcept announces that the game will come out on February 9th, 2016. So, on October 30th, they announce a new website, and then suddenly go radio silent for the rest of the year. And then, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, they returned on the 25th of January 2016 to reveal to us the truth of all time. The game was getting delayed again. Oh my god, the first update in 3 months, and it's a third delay. And guess what? 3 more months of science before they come back on May 2nd to tell us that the game was finally done. And coming out on June 21st. 14 months late, nearly 3 years after the initial Kickstarter. Now, all they had to do was sit down, shut up, and just let the game come out, and they'd be fine.
Cry like an anime fan on prom night.
Oh, you mean like maybe your target audience for Red Ash Magic Cicada, you dumb fucks? For what it's worth, the Masterclass trailer, which we ripped to shreds back in May, was made by Deep Silver, not Inti Creates, whose CEO Takuya Aizu was utterly disgusted by the whole thing. And while we're at it, that whole better than nothing thing got misattributed to Keiji Inafune. He never actually said it, his translator did in a sort of off-the-cuff comment. Anyway, the game finally came out last month, and yeah, not terrible, but by absolutely zero means the game that everyone was expecting. Or fucking, I don't know, hoping for after all this agony. I left out a lot of stuff that would have been hard to talk about at length here, like the leaked garbage Red Ash prototype that made its way across the internet, or maybe the weirdness of the fact that Call has dark skin in the Red Ash game but light skin in the Red Ash anime, or the fact that as we speak, in 1 month, Inti Creates is going to release Asia Striker Gunvolt 2, despite having helped introduce Beck to the world 2 years ago. This whole thing is fucking 3 out of 10 embarrassing, and you know how it makes me feel?
Like an anime fan on prom night.
Adios, doggy.
Get on it. Get up.
Once again, back is the incredible. Refuse to lose.
Get on it. Get up.
Once again, back is the incredible.